You are not poor because your income is too low. You are poor because you do not understand the mathematics behind remaining poor. Until you correct that, no raise, no promotion, and no lottery ticket will rescue you. I am going to explain how to build wealth on a small salary, not someday, and not when life becomes easier, starting right now with exactly what you already have, and I will do it using principles that actually work, not the nonsense sold online by people who have built nothing except an audience. The first $100,000 is an absolute nightmare to accumulate. That is the first reality you must accept. It is painful, it is slow, and it requires behavior that will make you appear strange to your friends. You will walk when others drive. You will skip meals that other people see as normal. You will decline invitations that seem harmless. And you will do this for years, while watching everyone around you enjoy life and question why you are acting so oddly. Once you reach that first 100,000, everything changes. But here is the truth nobody likes to hear. It is not because you suddenly become smarter or luckier, but because compounding finally has enough substance to work with. At a 10% annual return, that 100,000 grows into $672,000 in 20 years without adding another dollar. At that point, the machine starts running. Building it, however, is the miserable part. Most people never reach it because they cannot tolerate being uncomfortable on purpose. They want comfort now. They need to feel successful immediately. They want visible progress right away. So they buy things that make them feel accomplished, and they remain broke forever. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. You must choose one. $100,000 sounds impossible on your income. I know the thoughts in your head. You can barely save $100. That is fine. Start with 50. Start with 20. The amount does not matter yet. What matters is reversing the order in which you handle money. Right now, you pay everyone else first. That is the mistake. Rent, car payments, credit cards, subscriptions, food delivery, coffee, and useless expenses all come before savings. Then, if anything remains, you might save it. That approach is backwards. Pay yourself first, even if it is $10, even if it feels pointless. Wealth does not begin with money, it begins with habit. Every time you pay yourself first, you train your brain to believe your future matters. That belief, repeated over months and years, builds the discipline that separates people who create wealth from people who stay stuck forever. Think about it this way. When you owe your landlord money and you do not pay, consequences appear immediately. Eviction notices, calls, and pressure you cannot ignore. But when you owe your future self money, you ignore it as if it has no importance, as if there is no penalty. That is the problem. There is a penalty. It simply appears 20 years later when you have nothing saved and no choices left. Treat yourself as the most important bill you have, because nobody else is coming to build wealth for you. Not your employer, not the government, not a lucky break falling from the sky. Only you can move from barely surviving to genuinely thriving. And it begins by making that payment to yourself, non-negotiable. Warren Buffett's partner lived in the same modest house for 70 years without air conditioning. He watched his wealthy friends build larger and more luxurious homes. And what did he notice? They became less happy, not more. Meanwhile, he quietly built a fortune that eventually reached $2 billion. Not because he earned more than everyone else, but because he understood something they did not. A simple house helps you. A fancy house does very little for you. He could afford any home, any car, and any lifestyle. Yet he chose to consistently spend less than he earned. While his wealthy friends kept upgrading, taking larger mortgages, paying higher maintenance costs, and dealing with rising property taxes, he stayed put and allowed his money to compound instead of bleeding it into things that reduced his freedom. You believe you need to upgrade. You believe you deserve better things. You believe you have earned the right to indulge yourself. That thinking is exactly why you will remain broke. Wealthy people often look poor. Poor people try to look wealthy. Do not fall into that trap. Every dollar spent trying to look successful is a dollar that cannot work for you, cannot grow for you, and cannot buy you freedom later. The neighbor with the luxury car and designer clothes is not winning. They are performing, and that performance costs them their future every single month. If you carry credit card debt, you are paying 18% interest. That means we must talk about debt. You cannot move ahead while paying 18%. It is mathematically impossible. You are attempting to build wealth while someone else extracts wealth from you at a compounding rate every month. There are only 3 ways a smart person goes broke: liquor, relationships, and leverage. The first 2 are obvious. The third is debt. You borrow money to buy things you do not need to impress people who do not care, and you trap yourself in years of payments that prevent you from building anything meaningful. I make one exception, which is a mortgage on a modest home. Everything else, if you cannot pay cash, you cannot afford. Before you complain that nobody can live this way anymore, understand the truth. You are correct. Nobody can live this way and still maintain the lifestyle you believe you deserve. So you must choose. Lifestyle now or freedom later. You do not get both. Anytime someone offers you something with a large commission and a 200-page prospectus, do not buy it. Here is a rule that will save you from countless financial mistakes. You will sometimes be wrong, but over a lifetime, you will be far ahead and avoid enormous pain. This applies to timeshares, whole life insurance, actively managed funds with high fees, and anything that requires a salesperson to persuade you. You think you have a money problem, but that is not the real issue. You have a clarity problem. You do not know where your money goes. It simply disappears. $6 here, $14 there, $57 at a store when you only intended to buy toothpaste. Track every dollar for 30 days. It does not matter how. Use an app, a spreadsheet, or a notebook. Just track it. When you see your spending clearly, accountability becomes unavoidable. You stop pretending you are responsible while ordering food delivery 5 times a week. You stop lying to yourself about coffee habits, forgotten subscriptions, and convenience purchases that add up to hundreds each month. Awareness is power. Most people avoid awareness because it forces them to face uncomfortable truths. They prefer confusion and blaming their income. You cannot fix what you do not track, and you cannot build wealth if you do not know where the leaks are. Once you begin tracking, something surprising happens. You realize you are not actually poor. You are simply spending money on things that do not matter, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every wasteful purchase becomes obvious. Every unnecessary expense becomes painful. That pain is what finally drives change. Understanding both the power of compound interest and how difficult it is to harness is the foundation of understanding money. So we must discuss compounding. Most people never experience its power because they never give it enough time. The first rule of compounding is simple. Never interrupt it without necessity. When you pull money from investments to buy something you want, you are not only spending that money, you are spending all the future growth it could have produced. Patience matters more than intelligence when building wealth. This is why real money is not made in buying or selling. It is made in waiting. Most people cannot tolerate waiting. If you lack the ability to delay gratification, you must work hard to develop it. Without it, you will chase quick wins your entire life and end up with nothing. Look at Berkshire Hathaway. If you removed their top 15 decisions, the rest would look average. Their success did not come from constant action. It came from patience, waiting for the right opportunities, and then acting decisively. Progress happens inch by inch, day by day. After 20 years, you will have what you earned. Most people do the opposite. They constantly move money, chase trends, buy because prices rise, and sell because prices fall. Each action triggers fees, taxes, and broken compounding. They actively work against themselves. For most people, the solution is simple. Use index funds, low cost, diversified, boring. Invest regularly and leave the money alone. Do not attempt to time the market. Do not pick individual stocks. Do not listen to social media promises of the next big thing. Most people should do nothing beyond owning index funds. This is logical for anyone who does not want to obsess over investing and has no reason to believe they have special skill. You do not design your own electric motors, so why design your own investment portfolio? Index funds are boring, and that is the problem. They do not make you feel clever. They do not give you exciting stories. They do not provide the thrill of thinking you discovered something hidden. So people ignore this advice, chase excitement, lose money, and then wonder why. The safest way to achieve what you want is to deserve it, not to chase it, force it, or gamble on it. Deserve it through patience, discipline, and steady accumulation. It is not exciting. It is not fast, but it works. You must stop upgrading your lifestyle every time your income increases. This is something nobody wants to accept. It is called lifestyle inflation, and it destroys wealth quietly for millions. When you receive a raise, you upgrade your car, move to a nicer place, eat out more, and buy better clothes. You convince yourself you earned it, and suddenly the higher income disappears, just like the old one. The correct strategy is to let income rise while expenses stay flat. That is how the gap grows. That is how margin is created. That is how wealth is actually built. It requires ignoring opinions, driving the same car when you could afford better, living in the same place when you could afford larger, resisting the urge to prove success. Someone will always get richer faster than you. That is reality, not tragedy. If you spend your life comparing yourself and trying to keep up, you will remain broke. The real competition is against your past self, not your neighbor. Mozart was the most famous composer alive and miserable for much of his life. One reason was constant overspending. If Mozart could not survive that behavior, you should not attempt it. Compare him to a federal judge who consistently spent less than he earned because widows had no pensions. He saved relentlessly so his wife would be secure. When he died, she lived comfortably. One man chose discipline. One chose impulse. One family gained security. One ended up with nothing. And the money they earned was not very different at all. The behavior, however, was everything. Most people believe that building wealth requires special intelligence, insider secrets, or a lucky break. What they misunderstand is simple. It does not require brilliance. It requires avoiding stupidity. Do not go into debt for things that do not produce income. Do not interrupt compounding. Do not chase quick riches. Do not spend money to impress people who do not pay your bills. Do not invest in things you do not understand. Do not trust salespeople who earn large commissions. Do not compare yourself to others. Do not allow lifestyle inflation to destroy your progress. If you simply avoid these errors, you will end up ahead of 90% of people. Not because you did anything extraordinary, but because you avoided the foolish behavior most people repeat. What separates people who actually build wealth from those who only talk about it is learning. Constant, relentless, never-ending learning. Throughout my life, I have never known a wise person across a broad range of subjects who did not read continuously. Not one. You would be shocked by how much successful people read. And this is not about scrolling through social media or consuming entertainment. It is about reading books that expand understanding of business, human psychology, history, and how the world truly works. There are answers worth billions of dollars hidden inside $30 books. Yet most people will never read them because reading requires effort and concentration. Acquiring wisdom is a moral responsibility. It is not something you do only to get ahead. Remaining ignorant when knowledge is available is a choice, and it is a choice that keeps people poor. I constantly see people rise in life who are not the smartest and sometimes not even the hardest working, but they are learning machines. Every night, they go to sleep slightly wiser than they were in the morning. That advantage compounds enormously, especially over a long period of time. Sell yourself 1 hour every day. Before you work for anyone else, spend 1 hour improving your own value. Read, learn, practice a skill, or study something that increases your worth in the marketplace. Most people will not do this. They say they are too tired. They claim they have no time. They promise to start next week, and next week never arrives. Meanwhile, those who do the work move further ahead each day, not because they are special, but because they showed up when everyone else chose comfort. Your earning power is directly connected to your value in the marketplace. If you want to earn more, become more valuable. Learn skills people will pay for. Master communication. Learn how to solve problems. Improve your craft. The marketplace rewards competence, not wishes. Building a high-income skill takes time, and this is the part that makes most people uncomfortable. It requires months or years of consistent effort before results appear. Most people quit long before that point because they demand immediate outcomes. That same impatience keeps them broke in every area of life. They want compound interest without waiting. They want skills without practice. They want success without struggle. Because they cannot delay gratification, they remain stuck year after year. If you are willing to do what others refuse to do for a few years, you will be able to do what others cannot for the rest of your life. That is the exchange. Short-term discomfort for long-term freedom. Most people reject this deal, which is why most people remain poor. Envy, resentment, revenge, and self-pity are destructive ways of thinking. We need to address something uncomfortable. Self-pity often turns into paranoia, and paranoia is extremely difficult to reverse. If you allow these emotions to control you, you will sabotage every bit of progress you make. You see someone driving a better car, and you feel envy. You see someone taking luxury vacations, and you feel resentment. You compare your situation to theirs and decide life is unfair. That poison prevents you from doing what actually matters. Stop worrying about what other people own. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Stop assuming that appearances represent reality. Many of the people you envy are buried in debt. They are financing lifestyles they cannot afford to impress people who do not care. The real flex is financial peace. Not panicking over a $300 emergency. Not asking permission to take time off. Owning your time instead of renting it hour by hour. That is freedom. You do not reach that by looking successful. You reach it by quietly building when no one is watching. Stealth wealth means being rich without announcing it. No branded clothing, no leased luxury cars, no social media posts about success. Just silent, steady accumulation. When no one expects you to have money, you feel no pressure to spend it to prove anything. The loudest voices online talking about money are usually broke. The quiet ones who never mention it often have 7 figures compounding in index funds. They walk past you in the grocery store wearing inexpensive jeans, and you would never know. That is the point. Let influencers keep their filters and fake lifestyles. You are building something real, something durable, something that provides actual freedom instead of the illusion of success. You do not need a second full-time job. Here's the uncomfortable truth about side income. You do not need to destroy yourself working 80 hours a week. You need quiet income streams that operate in the background while you sleep. Sell a digital product you create once. License stock photos. Freelance a few hours per week. Flip items from online marketplaces. Write scripts for video channels. None of this is glamorous. None of it will make you famous. But $200 per month invested wisely becomes $47,000 in 10 years, which is more than most people have saved for retirement. The key is sustainability. Loud hustle leads to burnout. Quiet systems compound. You are not trying to replace your income overnight. You are adding layers that stack over time until your small salary has support. Most people reject this approach because it does not sound exciting. They want the big win, the overnight breakthrough, the viral moment. While they chase fantasy, they ignore simple opportunities that could actually change their lives. You only need to get rich once. This is the most important truth about money. You do not need to climb the mountain repeatedly. One successful climb is enough. But that one climb requires you to stop sabotaging yourself. Open a second bank account at a completely different bank. No debit card, no mobile app, a digital vault. Every paycheck, automate a transfer, even if it is $25. That money becomes untouchable. Out of sight, out of mind, still there in 12 months. This is how people with small salaries accidentally save $1,500, $5,000, or $10,000. They do not rely on willpower. They remove the option to spend. We live in a world where one tap can erase savings through an online purchase. You cannot out-discipline dopamine. Outsmart it instead. Automate everything. Savings transfers, retirement contributions, bill payments, investment deposits. The less you depend on motivation, the more likely you succeed. You are not trying to become a professional money manager. You are trying to become quietly wealthy. Automation works when you are tired, stressed, or distracted. Discipline is good, but automation is better. Automation does not care about feelings. It executes consistently, day after day, month after month, year after year. While others struggle to stay motivated, your system builds wealth silently in the background. Wealth is not created by a single decision. This is the final truth most people never accept. It is built through many small decisions repeated consistently over decades. Pay yourself first, track spending, avoid debt, protect compounding, keep learning, control lifestyle inflation, build income streams, automate everything. None of these will make you rich next month. Together, applied consistently for 10 or 20 years, they will completely transform your financial life. You move from paycheck to paycheck living to having options, from anxious to calm, from dependent to free. The people who succeed are not smarter or luckier. They simply avoided stupidity for longer. They ignored distractions. They did not quit when progress felt slow. They did not compare themselves to social media illusions. They kept doing boring things that work until boring produced extraordinary results. You do not need a six-figure salary to build wealth. You need a six-figure strategy. That strategy begins with deciding that your future matters more than comfort today. It continues with small, disciplined actions, repeated until they become automatic. It ends with freedom most people never experience because they were too impatient to build it. The choice is yours. You can continue as you are and hope for change, or you can accept that nothing changes until you do. Your salary is not the problem. Your behavior is, and behavior can be corrected starting now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for more money. Stop waiting for better conditions. Start with what you have, where you are today. Pay yourself $50. Track spending for 1 week. Cancel one unnecessary subscription. Read one book about money. Automate one transfer. Small steps, boring steps, unglamorous steps, but steps that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck complaining about circumstances. The people who build wealth did the work when they did not feel like it. They saved when they wanted to spend. They learned when they wanted to rest. They delayed gratification while everyone else indulged. 20 years later, they had freedom while others remained trapped. That is the deal. Discipline now or regret later. Discomfort now or desperation later. Patience now or poverty later. Choose one because pain is unavoidable. The only question is whether it is the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Most people choose regret because discipline hurts today and regret hurts tomorrow. What they do not realize is that discipline fades and becomes normal, while regret grows heavier every year. At 65, looking back on wasted money and missed opportunities, that regret is crushing. Do not let that be you. Make the difficult choice now while time is still on your side. Every year you delay is a year of compound growth you will never recover. Another year closer to retirement with nothing saved. Another year paying interest instead of earning it. Many friends who appear successful are buried in debt they will never escape. Others started making these decisions quietly, long before anyone noticed.